that the current crypto status with all these L1s and all these battles inside different blockchains is more fragmented and more complicated than the traditional banking systems. Well, we need to change that narrative. Hey. We need to change that narrative because it's about the narrative that we push. For us at Decaf, it's clear. Crypto has absolute value in providing not only financial inclusion and financial access, but it changes lives. And in many cases, it saves lives. You may not understand this if you come from an economy where you can tap and pay. You can pay from your Apple Watch. But if you just spend some time in a country with a broken financial system, the solution becomes clear. So Juan and I are going to talk through a number of real-world stories and use cases that we see often every day at Decaf. And by the end of our talk, you can tell us if you think that crypto has real-world utility. But first, what is the Decaf wallet?
Decaf is a global bank on-chain. Now, it sounds very big, it sounds very complicated, but it's actually enabled through like a few small but powerful features. We have a partnership with MoneyGram, which allows us to be active in 184 countries, in which you can off-ramp, but also on-ramp as well. We don't have any middlemen or fees, so we don't want any user to have to worry about what XLM is or what transaction fees are. You can pay and receive to a US bank account, which you can create in 5 minutes, and send money to like anyone in the US in minutes as well, with European payments being live since last week. And you can also hold your value in like a stable currency like the US dollar, and then off-ramp it into your local currency whenever you actually need it and however you actually need it. And it's all in a non-custodial package. So meaning like it's like a Revolut inside of a MetaMask app, right? So like how is actually this app providing value? Scott will start with a story of like somebody that's actually in the crowd. It's called Zack.
All right. So many of you may have already heard this story. It was the basis of the documentary. It was set in San Francisco, Colombia, in this idyllic town in the mountains. So for those who don't know the story already, here's a quick recap. Essentially, Zack is an entrepreneur who has a couple of businesses in this small town, employs around 40 to 50, primarily women, who the only real opportunity in this town is often agriculture or moving to one of the big cities like Medellin or Bogota. But the problem is there isn't even a single ATM in this town. So what do? Most of them don't have bank accounts. And if they do, they're shared amongst their family, shared amongst their friends. And they have to make a big trip to Medellin or Bogota to get this cash out. So this is what Zack does. He gets on his motorbike and goes 3 hours roughly to Meridian and gets cash out and puts it in a backpack. It takes nearly the full day to go there and back. Imagine he made a jacket specially for this to hide the cash inside his jacket pockets, as well as getting around like a couple of months or a month's worth of salaries for a number of different people. It sounds pretty dangerous, right? Well, yes, it is, because one time he got shot and robbed and left for dead. And a few days later, obviously, spoiler alert, he's here, he woke up and and realized something has to change, and that's where Decaf steps in. Decaf is this opportunity that, because it's integrated with MoneyGram, even though there's no ATMs in this town, they have MoneyGram. And all of a sudden, he can pay his employees in USDC. They can go to this store and they can cash out. Not only is this provides safety for Zack, it also provides security, financial inclusion to these 40 to 50, particularly women working in this town, working as virtual assistants. All of a sudden, they have the choice and flexibility to hold USDC or hold digital dollars and cash out when they need, whether it's directly to their cash or sending it to someone else. And although if you haven't seen the full documentary, I really recommend it, but we're just going to put a short clip of the impact that it's made on the town already. I don't know if it's going to work. Okay, anyway, so it's not going to work, but that's fine. You can go watch it later. But realistically, the point of the town is that these people, for the first time, they've hold US dollars. They're having a banking system. It's not just their first crypto product. It's their first banking product. And for us, this is really complex. But there is an effect. It's been months since this has happened. It was around 6 months since the documentary was filmed. And what happens when you inject digital dollars steadily into an economy or finally connect a city or an economy to the world, like to the global finance, amazing things start to happen. We heard stories of just little things such as, okay, now I have a job and I can afford to take my family out for 1 meal a week, go get a hamburger. And all of a sudden, these restaurants are getting more business. They get 1 more seat, 2 more seats. New restaurants and businesses are opening. And all of a sudden, this whole town has shifted and changed and flourishing because of this connection to the financial economy. This here, I don't know if most of you speak Spanish, but this is just examples of something simple. Some of the employees here are now finally able to pay for their own tuition. They're able to buy a multiplication table to help their daughter's education or buy new dresses and clothes for their daughters. This opportunity and being just simply connected to the global economy completely changes the lives of many people in this town. Now, this is the first story, but we have seen hundreds more. But we're just going to share a few more, and Juan will share the next.
Okay, so Angel is actually like a founder of like another payments app in the space. It's called Sphere, and he was like most of us here in a conference abroad, and he was holding talks and networking and meeting people, and then he went out with those people to have a drink, and then afterwards on his way home he actually noticed that his wallet was missing, right? And so if you're in Latin America, for example, in a place where it's mainly cash payments, and you lose all your cash, ID, and cards, it's pretty hard to get back, right? Luckily, he was able to get his money out with Decaf, and he was able to cash out at one of the many stores in the vicinity of his house to get cash and continue his travels. In his own words, Decaf saved his life. And there's another story as well, which is probably more relatable to you guys as well. It's a story of a digital nomad called Isa. Now, she lives in South America, and like many of there, she aspires to get a job in the US. And many fail because they can't get paid from the US to South America really easily. And so after months of looking for a job, she finally found one. And then when she got paid, she got a surprise. She saw one payment come in, and then immediately after, 2 payments come out. And those 2 payments were taxes and fees. And then, to make matters worse, the exchange rate on that day she got paid was pretty bad. And so she lost, in total, 8% of her whole salary just because she got paid on the wrong day and with the wrong bank. And then she actually began to look for a solution, to like an alternative solution to be able to actually control that flow of money. And so she stumbled upon Decaf. She was able to open a US bank account in 5 minutes, and then she was able to get paid through that US company. And then she was also able to hold the value in US dollars, and then actually off-ramp it into her local cash on a good day for the exchange rate. And so now she's actually like only losing on the spread of the operation, and she's able to get her full salary out.
So next is the story of Oscar. So Oscar was an aspiring software engineer. And so the goal was simple. Let's get him a laptop. Let's just get him some funds and get him a laptop. And then there was a fundraiser. I think inside the Stellar community, they wanted to just simply raise funds and send it to him so that he could start his career. Well, the problem was they were looking for the options to send to him. He's living in Ghana, and the fees were upwards of 60%. 60% was just the average fees. which made it almost impossible to send to him. But through Decaf, we were able to send to him with much, much less fees, get straight to him instantly, and he could cash out. And now he is studying as a software engineer.
And this is the story of Raiza. So it's a story of like perseverance and grit. And I personally actually love this story. So basically, just picture this. You're in Venezuela and have a law degree, a really good job, 2 sons, and a good family life. And then all of a sudden, the economy explodes. It makes the cost of living impossible to maintain. And to basically be safe, you have to leave the country as soon as possible. So you pack 1 bag for each kid and 1 bag for yourself and leave the country in a hurry, leaving everything behind and just having like 3 bags, right? And so you make the journey on foot from Venezuela to Colombia, where you eventually settle in Medellin. Then, all of a sudden, your life is very different from before. You basically are a migrant, and you don't have any papers. You can't open a bank account, and so you have to rely on cash. And so you get a job as a cleaner in a restaurant and have to live in a garage. So that's like a very big change in your life situation, right? And then after a few months of working like this, like you can actually leverage the Spanish skills to like be part of a school where you can teach Spanish basically. And then you open up an online school, and then you get paid via the US. But since you don't have a bank account, you have to use other apps, like for example PayPal, which takes a 20% cut. And so from every $15 that came in, only 12 were actually like credited to their account. So she started looking for alternatives, and she found Decaf then. She was able to get the money without any fees, and she was able to cash out at the moment that she actually needed it, and without any fear that she gets the account closed, because also PayPal closes some accounts randomly as well. And so like sometimes she wasn't even able to get paid, but now with Decaf, she is able to get paid, and she has regained the control of her life and of her finances. And she can finally have a dignified life without having to worry about when she will get her account closed, or without worry about fees and so on. So like Decaf tries to break down the financial borders of the people like Raiza face. And she's not alone. It's actually like millions of migrants all over the world that are experiencing this problem. And she exemplifies this problem actually beautifully.
For our final story, we have Zahra. Imagine this: you're 19 years old. You just found out that you're going to be married off against your will, and you know that if you run, you will probably die. You're scared. You're alone. What do? Well, you run. You hide. You don't have anything. You don't even have a bank account. Survival costs. How are you going to pay for your next meal? How are you going to pay to escape? What do? Well, Decaf, working alongside a Mexican organization supporting refugees in Afghanistan, helped Zahra. This was Zahra's reality. A young Afghani girl escaping the Taliban. We were able to send her USDC. She was in the hospital after being beaten nearly to death from the Taliban. She was able to pay for these fees, escape, and she's currently hiding in a cave, paying for her meals through USDC, being able to cash out with the integration to MoneyGram, because all of a sudden she has a secure method on her phone to hold dollars and cash out when she needs it the most. Unfortunately for now, she's still there. She's still hiding in that cave, waiting for a visa to be able to escape. But Decaf is that lifeline that once she can escape, She has her way, her methods of being able to get out cash and pay for whatever the journey may be, whatever the method of travel may be, whichever country that she goes through. So for her, it's not really about the fastest transaction speed or the blockchain, like which blockchain. For her, it's the difference between kind of being in despair and having hope. So for some, a dollar transaction is pretty trivial. For me, if I tap on my Apple Watch when I go for a run, I didn't bring my wallet with me. Super simple. But for others, it's the difference between freedom and despair. If you see this use case in aid, it is emerging. It's only just the tip of the iceberg. In the last year, Stellar Aid Assist it's topped $4 million, but we are seeing opportunity for millions and millions, if not billions of dollars in aid, because we have this truly globalist, borderless money. And all is freedom and opportunity. So yes, crypto is useless until it saves your life. This is just a few of the hundreds of stories that we're seeing, and we need to change the narrative. And this is how we do it, by exemplifying the real-world use cases and the real-world utility that comes from this. So yes, at Decaf, it's obvious. It is the gateway to financial inclusion. So thank you.